Thrash Metal Galloping Part 2 of a 3-part series here, guys. Now, this might be my favorite part of this little riff we're learning, and of course, I explain at the end of this video in our usual guitar chat, where I give you some really encouraging words, and of course, I'll explain more about what this riff is for, like it's part of something a little bit greater here, so we'll talk about that. But I want to share this part. This is definitely kind of catering to that thrash metal style with that galloping technique, the really quick 1, 2, 3, so there's a lot of that, but we're not just galloping on one note. We are moving those fingers around. So this is a really good exercise / riff. It's also something you can really expand on, which we'll talk more about that in our guitar chat as well. So hang around for our guitar chat, by the way. We always have a little chat at the end of these lessons here. Real quick, my Patreon members, you guys have the backing tracks and tabs to this lesson and of course the entire series here. So make sure you download those. As we always do, let's just play the riff out in the open, then I'll break it down for you. Now, of course, again, we're learning that second riff, that second part of the entire riff that you heard in the intro. A 3-part series. So the last lesson, the lesson prior to this one, it was a week ago from this lesson here, that went over the first part. Now we're going on the second part, and then the third and final lesson in this series. We'll put everything together, and there's another little addition that we're going to throw in as well. The reason I do this real quick before we dive into the notes here, the reason I do this, I like to teach, and I also like to learn in bite-sized chunks. Think of it like eating. So if we sat down and had like 2 or 3 steaks together with some sausage and chicken and sweet potatoes, then we piled on like multiple layers of desserts, maybe chugged some beers after that. Well, that's a lot. I don't know that our bodies can digest all of that. So maybe we have a steak and a sweet potato, right? Maybe later have some dessert, maybe later have a beer, whatever, you get it, right? So sometimes when you're learning riffs, and even when you're writing, I do this when I'm writing, I like to break things down into little bite-sized chunks and just, okay, I've got this part, now let's move on to the next, instead of trying to absorb everything in one shot. So hopefully that makes sense, all right? This is very similar to last week's. We're implementing the alternate picking strategy, okay? And we're starting out with the gallop, same thing. So we're doing that, and not only are we implementing the gallop, just like last week's riff, we're also doing a downstroke after that. So gallop 1, 2, 3, alternate pick 1, 2, 3, then an additional downstroke. Really cool strategy there, and I like to do that. I'll do the gallop, sometimes I'll add an additional downstroke before and after or whatever, just play around with that. So let's move on to the riff, okay? Again, here's the riff. Let's go over the notes that we're playing. I like to break it down like this too because it just makes things easier, because we're really not playing that many notes here, okay? Everything's on the E string, so there's a simplification, just one string, okay? No big deal, right? So that first part, all right, all we're doing is playing frets 10, 8, 7. And then we've got an open string in there as well that we're going to, to alternate pick. So that's all we're doing, guys. Really 3 fretted notes, then we got the open string. So when we break it down like that, it's like, oh, okay, well, now it's just a matter of where do we go within those notes, okay? But we've condensed it down to just 3 notes in the open string. Not really a big deal. What I'm doing as I'm alternate picking, okay, and I've got some palm muting along with that, is I'm going 10, 8, 7, 8, 7, okay? And then I'm going to alternate pick that open string. The second part to that little riff there is pretty much the same thing, almost the same thing. We're just going to go from those 3 notes to another 3 notes. That's really it. Okay, so this time we'll be on frets 8, 7, and 5. So not a big deal. It sounds like this. What we're doing here, we're playing frets 8, 7, 5 twice, and then going back to 7, okay? We're alternate picking the entire time, so let me play this part slow. Guys, it is time for our guitar chat, but real quick, if you do not have my free Metal Riffs and Licks practice guide, grab a copy of that. There's a link in the description of this video. If you already have that free guide and you're not aware of my online guitar courses, I've got Metal Guitar Apprentice. That's a course for beginners, or if you need to revisit the basics, just going through the fundamentals of heavy metal guitar and also expanding on those skill sets along the way just really moves you along in a nice progression. Now, if you're an intermediate guitarist or beyond that, and you just want to learn some new riffs and maybe get some more ideas for writing your own riffs, check out my course called Metal Riff Master. I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, guys, but I don't care that much if you learn the riffs that I'm sharing with you, this one and any riff that I share with you on YouTube here as a lesson. I'm really not so concerned that you learn it note for note and play it exactly the way I play it. I think too many times we're trying to figure out exactly what this other person did. What I'm more interested in is you getting the concept and then you expanding on that concept. Maybe learning the riff. I encourage you to learn it, right? I want you to learn the riff, but you may hear something else as you're going along. You're like, you know, Jason's doing this thing here, but man, something's just kind of pulling me in this other direction. What I'm going to tell you is dump my idea and go that direction that you're being pulled towards, because that's when your real skill set as a metal guitarist, or rather as a musician in general, that's when that real skill set is developing. Okay, so I want you to take what I'm sharing with you and just run with it, guys. Make up your own stuff, make up your own patterns and riffs and all that, and just see where that road leads you. Okay, never settle, guys. Please don't ever settle for just learning someone else's song or someone else's riff. I mean, it's great, it's good to learn, it's good to practice it. I'm not saying don't learn them, but quickly start progressing in another direction with it. See what you can come up with, okay? Start developing more of that skill set to where you're writing your own riffs. And that's really what these lessons are all about, guys. You know, I showed you this cool little thrash metal galloping series here. We've got another video coming up next week, so, you know, stay tuned for that. But I want you to learn the riffs. Yes, you know, learn my riffs, that's fine. But I want you to quickly see where you can go with it, okay? What else can you do with it? Because you're gonna come up with stuff that sounds better than what I'm sharing with you. Why is it better? I know better is very subjective. We said that in the last week's guitar chat. But it's better because you're coming up with it. Better is not necessarily more complicated. Better is not necessarily faster. Better is not more notes, it's not less notes. Better is what you come up with because it's coming from inside of you, okay? You're a guitarist, yes, you're a metal guitarist, sure, but at the core, you're a creator. Those of us who play music, you know, there's something different about us, okay? And you know this, in talking to your other friends that play an instrument versus friends and people you know that don't play an instrument. It's just something different. I'm not saying we're up here and everybody else is down there. We're not comparing ourselves. But there's something different, okay? That's undeniable. So I want you to take that thing that's inside of you and know that you are a creator, okay? You're a creator of music. So start expanding on these riffs. Now, the tune you just heard, again, this is part of, and I know I explained this in the last lesson, and of course I'll explain it again in the next one after this, part 3 coming up next. But this is part of a song that I wrote for Black Star. Most of you know I recently got a couple sponsorships from Black Star. One was their Amp 3 product, this pedal right here, which is a killer little amp pedal. I've got several videos on that, But my latest sponsorship was this beast of an amp you see right here in the corner, man. This is the Blackstar HT Venue MK3. This is a 100-watt head, and it's an amazing amplifier, guys. And they sent me the 412 cab with it too. They're the Celestion 7080 speakers. It's got a little bit darker tone to it, which I prefer. I love this tone. So I've got some videos on that as well. And if you want to hear the complete song, that what you're learning here, the complete song, well, I'll throw it up there at the end of the video here for you. But guys, hey, drop any questions that you have in the comments. If you have any questions about the riff or any of my lessons, or hey, anything, let me know those in the comments. I appreciate the support. Hey, give this a thumbs up real quick if you don't mind. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel, guys. I'm always putting out content to help you as a metal guitarist. And guys, I will see you on the next video. Until next time, as always, keep it metal.